Okay, so I had a question. I was working on this Remington 510, and I went to YouTube, the internet, Google, and looked for a video on the 510 so that I could get this question answered, and there aren't any. There are no disassembly, reassembly that actually go through and disassemble everything. So this is a real assembly disassembly of a Remington 510. Okay, so you have to take the safety off, you have to pull the trigger back so that you can get the bolt out. Get it back in, you have to, don't ask me why, but, well, because of the mechanism inside there, how it works. This really is a little fun gun, but it's a pain in the ass to disassemble and reassemble. So as you can see, can't get the bolt out. Now it won't go either way. So you've got to pull the trigger. There you go. Set that aside. The bolt is a little bit of a problem. So first thing we need to do is we need to pop out this pin. Okay, now as you can see, this bolt is currently under spring tension. There's pressure, so this housing is going to want to pop off. So we're going to have to be careful about that. Punch this pin out. Makes it any easier to see. Shouldn't be that difficult. What we're going to do is we're going to punch this pin, and we're going to leave the punch in there because that's going to hold the spring tension so that it doesn't go shooting across the room. So anyway, here we go. Okay, so there's your pin. Now as you can see, this is almost all the way through. There we go. Okay, so there you have it, right? So now what we're going to do is we're going to back this pin out, this punch, and we want to hold on to this so that it doesn't go flying across the room, right? There you go. So now that comes apart just like that. You can see pushing it together, that spring's under tension there. Okay, so there's your housing back there. Here's your spring, plunger. Now you've got, this is the way it looks when it's in there, right? So now this pin right here, this pin right here, on this particular gun is loose, and it can pretty much just fall right out. And there's your firing pin. Now you can, I'm not going to now because you don't really need to, and you don't really need to take them out unless you're doing a really, like, you got to have every pin and everything removed. These two pins will allow you to take these out here, your extractors. Alright, so now comes the reassembly. We are going to put the firing pin in. Not like this. Won't go in. Only like that. You can see the firing pin right there, sticking out the end. Okay, so then, I don't know the name of the parts here, so I'm not going to try. I'm just going to say this piece goes in. Now you have to make sure this U-shaped slot here, you're going to have a pin that goes through there. Okay, so you need to watch and make sure that you keep that lined up. It's pretty wide, but you can see that. Okay, so then we got to put the handle on the lever on here. Okay, so now when this thing is in the rifle, it's going to be like that, right? And then you're going to open and pull back. Okay, so just keep that in mind. Alright, so this pin, and I don't know if you can see on this pin, but see if you can see that. It's got some milling done on each end there so that it's smaller in diameter than in the center parts here. So this is the pin that goes here, and it doesn't matter which side it goes in, just as long as it goes in there, because it's the same on either side. Like I said, in this rifle it falls right out. It might fall out in yours too. I don't know. We'll see. Yeah, this pin likes to fall out because it's you know, loose. It's not a bad thing. There we go. Okay, make sure the U is lined up here. Okay. Take our housing here and put the spring and the plunger in there. Now comes the hard part. We have to push this together, which is spring-loaded tension. It's difficult. So you're going to have to brace it against something, push it down, and get your pin put it in this side. Okay, well actually, I'm trying to remember how to get this accomplished. What you really want to do here is put your punch through there, and this gives you some leverage, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to try and get the punch in there. So we're going to brace it against something, push down, get your punch in there. Okay, now we got to get the pin in, so you need 3 hands, right? So what we're going to do here is we're going to put this pin in as we pull this punch out. So we're going to back this out. And put the pin in behind it. Okay, now as soon as the pin gets past the housing, it's going to release a little bit of tension, and you're not going to be able to get your pin through. As you can see, if I give pressure like this here, that's the only way you're going to get this pin to go through. So you're going to have to hold that down while you tap your pin in there. You see? Now you can get that out. Put the rest of the way in. Of course, it's under pressure, so it's being stubborn right now. We'll go the other side. It's got that little bit there, and it's causing it to stop. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to push on it at the same time and see if that'll work. There we go. Just needed a little more pressure to get over the edge of the housing there. Whoop. Then we're gold after that. Same thing again. Alright, so let's give it a little tension. Okay, so there's your bolt back together. Now, let's talk about the receiver. Okay, so the receiver is really quite a pain. So, here we go with that. This is going to come out, this is going to come out, this is going to come out, this pin is going to come out. Now I believe that taking it out and putting it together in the correct order, as with most things, is going to be the key. So I haven't done it enough to know what that order is, but we're going to work it out right now. I think we need to start with taking the safety out first. So let's take the safety out. Not enough. Okay, so there's your safety lever catch there. I don't know what it's called necessarily, but that's it. So when it's inside the gun, right, this is inside, this is on the outside, it's got grooves in there that fit on it, so that when you click the safety on and off, right, this goes in here, screws down into it, well, goes the other way. Anyway, that's how it goes together inside the gun there. It actually goes like that. Okay, so when that's in the gun, you click the safety. There's a pin in the trigger which locks there, so that's what that is. Take this back apart. Okay, so got the safety and the mechanism for it removed, and inside there you can see the trigger. I don't know if you can see it here, if that'll be enough, but there's a pin in the trigger there, spring loaded. It's not loaded with tension once this is removed, but there's a spring under that pin, and we'll see that in a second here. So I'm gonna say, taking this screw out next. Okay, now the only thing holding our, okay, this is a cam. We're gonna have to, it's one of the things that makes it a pain in the butt. It's this cam has to be held in place. This will actually go through it inside the gun, right? So when it's inside there, and our trigger is flopping around there, the only thing holding it in is this pin. So we're going to take that pin out. I just use a block there. Actually, I want to come this way. Come out that way. Actually, I guess we should remove this pin all the way. Actually, it doesn't look like we don't actually need to remove this pin all the way, but I'm going to, just so you can see that when it's out. There's that pin. Goes right through there. Does look like one end has a bit of a bevel to it, which is probably why it has to go in this way. I don't know, maybe. Okay, so now we've got a trigger in there. Has to come out through here. Okay, so there's your trigger. Goes in the gun just like that, right? Be sitting in there like this. Pull the trigger point. Okay. Pin goes through there. Right inside. Okay. Here, this fell out while I was popping the pin out there. This is the plunger for your trigger, for your safety. There's a spring down inside there too. I don't think the spring will come out on its own. Pull it out. There it is. So when that's inside the trigger housing there, goes in just like that. You can see that, just like that. Okay, there's one piece left in there that we can actually remove, and that is the screw right here. There's the pieces that came out of it. Alright, so the screw goes here. See how it's going to sit inside the gun in there? Just like that. Turn it around this way so you can. Going to go in just like that inside the gun. Right up against the wall inside here. That screw is loose, so it just falls out. All right. Now we're going to try and get it back together. So let's put it back together in the same order, right? Let's put this back in, the screw. Be the spot. I get it. Got it. All right. really see any need to try and tighten that down right now. It's not going to until it has a pin. Guess I could do that, tighten it down. Just tighten it down enough so that it doesn't jiggle, because you're still going to need to line it up for this pin. I'm sorry, for this pin screw once you get the trigger back inside, which we're going to do right now. Put this spring in here. This will probably fall out a couple times while we're doing this, but so I don't know. Do it now, do it later. Okay, so now we got to go back in same way we came out, right? Which is through here. Hook it around. Get your trigger out there. Now you can't see what I'm looking at in here, but when you're working on yours, you can see how these things are going to line up in there. Right, so right now I can see this here. I can put that in. Okay, that's going to hold the trigger right there, at least. Make sure we're not cross-threaded. I'm not going to tighten that down either, just yet. Okay, now, isn't that where the cam goes? Yes, okay, so here's this cam. So, let's pull this back out here. You know, I could edit this and say, oh, and skip that part. Cam. This cam needs to go, as you can see how the gun is laying here with the trigger pointed towards me, barrel out to the left. This is going to go on the bottom side, so you can just slide it in. Line it up with the this. And the line on the trigger. Slide the cam. Okay, so when you're in there, you're going to have 3 holes to line up. This piece that we screwed in here with this, then the hole for the trigger there, and then the cam that we slid in. Okay, that's going to come all the way through there. You can see that. I don't know if you can see that or not, but I don't know if you'll be able to see that. I can't tell. But you see the process there. So while that's nicely lined up in there, put this in and line everything up. Make sure we got everything held together. We do. Okay, I'm not going to tighten that down either yet because I still want to get that hinge pin in here. Now, if I remember correctly, the last time I tried to do that, I had a problem with the spring on the safety here. So I'm thinking that I need to get the safety in first, then we can push the trigger up against it and put the pin in there. That'll save some trouble, because I remember fighting with this while it was under pressure from the trigger. So these are the three pieces that are going to go in there, right? This is going to go just like that. This is going to go just like that. Now this piece, let me pull this back out here. See, there's that pin, it fell out again. Pin back in there. All right. So this piece, when it goes in, it's actually going to stick out. If I can do this here. No, I'm not going to be able to do that. This piece is going to come up here. So you see, and that's going to hook onto it. Where's my screw? There it is. Okay. Okay, what I'm doing right there is I'm just pushing that piece up so that it sticks out. I'm going to try and hold it in place so you can see. Okay, so you can see that this piece right here, that's what that hooks onto. It sits in that groove there. This goes in, find the back hole. Okay, now when I look down inside here, I can see that this is upside down. So let's twist it. There we go. Now we got it right. It's gonna go in. The bottom. Screw it down. Takes a little patience with this rifle because it's not easy to do. Definitely not easy to do. Okay, now we've got it. Or we're going to get it. Screwed down enough. That it doesn't go away on us here. That should do. Okay, now we've got our trigger here that we need to put the pin through. tricky too, because you can't just pound this pin through, because the trigger, the hole for the trigger, is going to want to move around, and you're not going to be able to see it. So what you're going to have to do is you have to pound it in a little bit. Look, you'll be able to see the pin coming in. Then you have to kind of hook the that hole on the trigger. It's a pain. This whole process is a pain. Yet. It's almost there. That's it. It needs just a little more before I can hook it. There we go. Now you can feel that the trigger is, you can feel the spring. Safety works. Okay, so now we just tighten everything up here. Okay, now this screw right here on this rifle has a mark right there, which is kind of telling you that's where you need to line this up, because if you tighten the screw down too far, you won't be able to move the trigger. It'll compress it in there. So when you tighten this down and you get to a certain point, you'll feel, oh, I can't hardly move that trigger anymore. Stiff. So you gotta back it off. And it looks like that. A little bit less. Come back out a little bit. You don't want it to wiggle. Too much. Tighten this down here. This will help. Okay, that can be tight. And you can adjust it for however loose you want your trigger to be, but I wouldn't go too loose. That looks pretty good. Tight. Trigger feels like it should. that's it. Now all you have to do is put the bolt in, right? Take the safety off here, get this thing in correctly. Did I put this together wrong? Well, I got it, the handle upside down. Have to make sure that handle is on correctly, see? So now I have to take this back apart so I can flip this around, because this should have been boink. So here we go. Spring loaded. All the way through. Okay, now taking care, you're going to back that out, hang on to the end here so it doesn't come shooting off. Take this pin fall out. Okay, so it should be that direction. Okay, so it should be just like that. Put this pin back in. Still got our piece in here. Gotta make sure we keep that opening for this pin. Put our spring and plunger back in there. Now we got to get the punch in there again. Line up the hole, put the punch in, punches through. Now we got to put our pin back in there. Back this out far enough we can get the pin in, and it's going to release a little bit there. Okay, so again, I crimp this down. You feel that pin lock into place there. There it is. Now we can hammer it in. Goes in easy after that. Make sure it's not sticking up on this side. You can probably just push down here, tap it. Yeah, there we go. Just gets hung up on the lip in here because this tilts just enough that you can't get the pin in there. So just a little bit of tension here, pushing down. Tap it, you can use the plastic side, it goes in pretty easy there. Make sure you're not sticking up on this side. Gently. There we go. Okay. Alright, so now we can put it in the receiver correctly. We got to put tension on the spring to get it in. So what we're going to do is slide it into here, and we got to rotate this there. Basically it's the cocked it. It should go in from there if you push the trigger. You'll have to figure that, you know, at some point you got to put the safety on and take the safety off in order to get it out. You got to put in the safety and pull it out this way. In order to get it in, you got to push the trigger, you got to put the safety. Okay, so there you go. That's it. Manipulate your trigger, pull it out. Okay, so you can see it's cocked. So just remember, when you're trying to put this back in, it's going to get stuck out here once you've had this apart, because it's not loaded, it's not cocked. The spring doesn't have that tension on it that it needs, so you're going to have to cock it, and then you can push it in, just like that. And you put this back in the stock, which I'm in the process of sanding off and getting to work. So, right, gonna go back in, and put your screw in here, and the dumbest, go this way. Yeah, no, goes this way. Okay, so this is, you will know this already because you have to take this off. You don't have to take it off, I guess, right? Nothing connects in there. So trying to take this off sucks because obviously you have a screw on the inside, so you have to go at an angle. It's ridiculous. Not smart. So there you have it. If you have any questions on any of that, feel free to leave some comments. Thanks for watching the video.